Elysia Everett is a seasoned executive with over 20 years of global technology and leadership experience. She co-founded Friendly Like Me, a groundbreaking mobile app and web platform dedicated to helping individuals with access needs find accessible places for travel, dining, entertainment, and healthcare. As the CEO of Skyline Art, a top art solutions firm in the US, she leads the creation of custom art programs that enhance experiences in healthcare, education, hospitality, and corporate environments. Her work in accessibility has been recognized in major publications, including USA Today and the New York Times, reflecting her deep commitment to making public spaces more inclusive for all. Thank you, Alicia, for coming onto the show, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Perfect.
Ali.
Um, Side, were you ever disabled in your life? Now, I was reflecting on this before this podcast. I was thinking about there was one time when I was doing Taekwondo, I hurt my leg and I couldn't walk around anywhere. And then I started feeling what it was
Mm,
like to, you know, not be able to walk or have that. It's like there were tons of places I couldn't go to. Stairs were really horrifying, and it was just put me through a lot
mhm.
of pain, and like everywhere I wanted to go, I didn't even know if I was able to get there, if there was a ramp or something. So I decided to stay at home and stuff like that. So that was just an injury, and I healed from it. But I remember during those few weeks when I was injured, um, I definitely felt like what it would feel like to be, um,
Yeah, it's
handicapped.
very eye-opening when you have what we'll call that as like a temporary disability, right? If you're non-weight
Hmm.
bearing on an ankle or a knee. Um, and that's why when I talk to people about disability, it's so easy for people to think of that as someone else, not me. But we all will be
Hmm.
disabled. We just don't like to think about it, whether it's a broken ankle or a loss of mobility as we get older. Um, it comes to us all. It comes to us all. And what you described as, because you didn't know what the landscape was going to be like, you stayed home, is central
Hmm.
to our theory at Friendly Like Me, that people who don't know, they don't go, right? I've been one of them. There's lots of places I haven't gone to in my life because I didn't know if the chairs were going to be comfortable, or I didn't know if I was going to fit right, or whatever. Stadium seats, things like that. And it becomes, well, first off, when you have an access need, which could be anything: visible, invisible disabilities, mobility, being plus size, right? It could be anything. Low vision, um, ADHD, neurodivergent, right? When you have one, you become really good at recon. Like you're super good at like looking at Google Images and trying to figure out if that place will work for
Hmm.
you or it won't. The problem is that a picture only tells part of the story, and when it's accessibility, you got to have the whole story, or you are still afraid. And I have a good example
Mm,
I like to use on this topic, which is that we prepared an accessibility guide for Denver Pride last year. And out of that, we decided to do the top 10 best gay bars for accessibility in Denver. And so we're researching all these places, and I find this amazing gay bar. It looks like all new construction, totally up to code, fully accessible, amazing. I call the owner because I like to do that. And asking them for their input, any special things you want to say. And they go, oh yeah, downstairs was built in the 20s and there's no elevator, and that's where all the parties are. Okay, so if I'm just looking
mm,
at the pictures, I think I can go. But if I'm going there on Pride Week, I'm not going to be in the party, right? That's a big deal. And on the flip side, I also saw many bars where I thought, or nightclubs especially, I thought, oh my God, there's no way we could get a wheelchair in there. Just no way. Get on the phone with that business owner, and he's like, no, here's what we do. Right, we clear this path, to the restrooms. We bring them right down front. We wheel them right in front of the stage. Best seat in the house. I'm like, okay, you're thinking about it, you're planning it, but you know what? It doesn't say that anywhere on your website. And so that's why we decided to build Friendly, is to get really specific information about as many
Hmm.
places as we could.
okay. No,
Wow.
that's great because a lot of people obviously don't necessarily have that information when they're going to a certain location that they, want to visit or attend maybe a conference or whatever is going on. And it's good to be informed about this, especially since people with accessibility needs, they need to have that. They need to have information because they need to prepare beforehand.
Yes, and
And
it goes to confidence, right? If you
yeah,
can't feel confident that you're going to be okay, you're going to stay home. And one of the things that I like to tell business owners is, when I first approach them, they almost all of them say, I'm compliant, I'm compliant. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really what I'm asking you. Um, because there's a big difference between being compliant and being friendly, right? If you're compliant, that means a wheelchair of about 29 inches and a highly stable upper body able person can roll that chair in and get into your teeny tiny accessible bathroom. That's not somebody in a power chair with a complex disability. Their turning radius of those chairs, they can't even get into those little stalls, right? And so with
Mm.
accessibility, it has to be very specific, or it's not helpful. We can't just tell you, oh, 3 stars on accessibility, right? That doesn't work for people with disabilities. But
I see.
the argument that I like to make is that if your standard tabletop in your restaurant is 3 people, and 1 in 4 people have a disability, and when you add the plus size population in, we're talking about now 1 in 3. If one of us can't
Wow.
go, then no one else is going. The rest of the people at the table,
We're
we're
not
going
going.
somewhere else, right?
yeah.
So you're
Yep.
losing out on
Hmm.
more money.
Totally. And
Okay,
businesses
so
hate
for
that. If one thing businesses love is money.
yeah,
So now you're here making an app that's, getting people to know where's the best places to go, best restaurants near me that are accessible. Me and my friends, we're going to go to this one, because my friend's in a wheelchair and we want to make sure that they have a place for them to go. And so now these business owners are not going to make as much money. So now they're thinking about, okay, now can we help? Now how can we help these people, with disabilities? You know,
It's true. And
you're doing
I have
you're
these
doing heroic
arguments.
work, Alicia.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
doing heroic work. I really appreciate it. You're really changing the world by what you're doing, and it's such an important thing, to give all of us a fair chance at life to live our best lives, no matter what background you have, no matter what God put upon you as a challenge in your life. You should be able to still live as good a life as anyone else. And so, thank you for
And we
making that happen.
self-select out. Yeah, and not be
Hmm.
self-selecting out because you're not sure. And so we ask people when they're reviewing places to be very, very specific. So you know how if you're doing a Yelp review or something, it's about the pesto and it's about the service and it's this and that. This is all accessibility, and the answers are binary. Do they have this? Yes or no. Do they have this? Yes or no. Because when you ask the questions that way, it takes the emotion out of it, and then we get to do fun things with math because we have quantifiable information now. Um, and businesses can claim their listings, right? Just like they can on Yelp, and they can actually
Hmm.
advertise to people, this customer base, which they're not hitting in any way when they do their advertisements or their marketing. They're never thinking, oh, you know what, I should market my accessibility, and I
Hmm.
maintain that you're going to see a 25% increase in your business if you do. And
Most
it's
def-
funny when you say
that's huge.
now business owners will take that as, and from my point of view, I feel like I don't really care why. Like, if you wouldn't do it because it was the right thing to do, and I can convince you to do it because you'll make money, great. Because I want to have a good steak at your restaurant,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's all about money,
So
unfortunately or fortunately, right? If you're able to play into that game, you're able to have wins for you and the community, which is huge. So it's very rare that people try to do things out of the kindness of their heart, and then when they do things you know it can sometimes be fishy. I wanted to ask you a bit, Alicia, about I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Beast, and he does these things where he has videos where he's like curing the blind or curing the hearing disabled and such, or curing autism or whatever it is. And so is that something that the people in the disabled community want to be cured from,
Oh,
whatever
that's
their
such a
disability
good
is?
question. It's
Sorry,
just,
I don't mean to put loaded questions, but
no, no, I'm here for it. It's
we have to talk about it. We have to,
oh,
I
for
think.
sure. So what the disabled community is very divided on this topic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course. I mean, if there's a pill I can take and I'm not going to be blind anymore, on it seems like really obvious that you should do that, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
also a growing movement amongst disabled people that they don't need to be fixed, right? That they're living a full, rich life, and that you see this a lot in the hearing impaired community. It's like, why do you think hearing is better? We have this whole other way of communicating that's also nuanced and amazing. So it depends on the person. It depends on what they want, but it's politically hot. That one is hot.
What do you think, Saeed? I like hot stuff.
um, well, I guess you guys have been. Ali's taken the role of good cop in this episode, so I'm gonna have to play the insensitive devil's advocate here and start asking questions in the other direction. One of those questions is, so okay, so we've seen the benefit of making businesses more accessible for, like small businesses for customers. But what about, like, why is it important to have these accessible needs for employees in like corporations? Like, how does this affect the environment, the work environment? How does it improve it? Does it make it worse?
So
What changes does it make?
addressing disability rights and encouraging people with disabilities to work at your place, the argument for that is very similar to why you want to have a diverse workforce, better
Mm,
perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
differing points of view, different cultural backgrounds, right? And so employers who we find employers who dig in on wanting to hire disabled people find it very rewarding and often get things to their business that they would never have otherwise known about or seen. And but friendly is focused more on access to healthcare and access to public spaces than it is on workplace accessibility, because a lot of people do that really well. Most big companies will bring in a really good disability consultant, and they will walk through with their workforce and speak to the different kinds of needs that they have, encourage people to reveal their individual disabilities. That
mhm.
is very difficult, because here you are in a workplace situation raising your hand saying, I'm neurodivergent and this is really loud for me and I need a quiet space. Now you're basically saying, it's like saying, I'm not normal. I have this thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
people are often very afraid to do it. But when you can
Mhm.
encourage that people to do it and you can provide for them, their productivity goes like way up. So it's win-win making your workplace accessible.
Yeah, so that is, I agree with that because, like, so for example, I'm neurodivergent and like I can get overwhelmed at times, so I need that quiet time basically. Um, it happened to me, for example, today I went on this long outing with this one friend, and there's a lot of talking happening. At the end of it, I was just like, I'm drained. I just want to be by myself. So I was wondering, like, does this also benefit, like, for example, having that time alone or like having that quiet area inside the workspace? Does that also benefit non-neurodivergent people? Is it
Yes.
beneficial, or does it like not matter to
No, it
them?
matters. Quiet spaces for neurodivergent people, and I don't have the stats at my fingertips, but there's a lot of us, right? I fall into that category as well. And
Oh no, sorry, I meant non neurodivergent people. So
oh,
like,
absolutely. I mean, we have a we have a woman who's coming back from maternity leave, and you need to have a wellness room, right, so that they can
yeah, yeah.
pump and and other things. And in putting that together for that purpose, that room has now become a place of respite for almost everybody here, right? Everyone takes a
Hmm.
20-minute nap or goes in and cools off before, after getting an email that they didn't like or whatever, right? Providing a place that's really, you can do a quick meditation or just pull yourself together. It makes a huge difference, especially when you have, like a bullpen kind of work area with no doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
incredibly important, not just for neurodivergent folks. I mean, all of us can agree that sometimes you need a minute, you know?
Yeah. So it's like the neurodivergent people are actually the voicing the concerns of everyone. They're just more willing to speak out than
Right?
the average person.
Yeah, and there's a lot of overlap between these communities too. If you think about like number of people who use a mobility device, right? Maybe not just wheelchair users, but someone using a cane. Um, that includes, that's seniors. Um, that's a point of overlap. Plus size people of a certain size that need an accommodation,
Mm-hmm.
that there's an overlap there. And so that's kind of designed into the app. And the reason why that's important to me is because when you go and you look at a business, and we're going to tell you how wheelchair friendly it is or how low vision friendly it is, but as a
Mm-hmm.
person, when I'm looking, I'm like way more than just one thing, right? Like I need a place to be quiet enough for conversation because I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
Yeah.
Um, I really like it when the booth tables slide a little bit. So when I get in, I'm a little bit more comfortable. Um,
Yeah.
Various things like that. And then if I'm bringing grandma, now I've got, a wheelchair user or even a parent with a stroller, right? Now I'm coming in as like this combination of needs. And so when you log into Friendly and you set your profile, you pick the things that matter to you. Okay. And then when you view a business, you still see all those other scores, but you also see what we call the like me score. So if a business has the three things that I care about, then it's going to show up 100% like me, whether or not it's good for a blind person or whether or not it's good for someone who, needs a different accommodation than me. And so those specifics, it gets back to the cool stuff we can do with math, right? Um,
Yeah.
Hmm.
if you're bringing grandma that day, you might go in and click that and add it in so you can quickly see, right? It's going to sort businesses that are the best for your situation and for you, as you've told us.
Hmm.
Wow.
Those are very good
I had a question
options
for
to
you,
have.
Alicia. That's a bit out there. Okay, so let's say we made you the president of the United States, or you had your own country, right? And you wanted to make it like a paradise for everyone and their accessibility. What would you change? Like, how would you change the system? Because right now we're trying to adapt people with accessibilities into our current system. But if you could change things fundamentally, how would that look like?
It starts with the planning, and it starts with being aware. So there's this really cool building, I can't remember the name of it, that was designed to be the most accessible building in the world, right? And what a big part of that is awareness. Like if I talk about wheelchair accessibility, you know what I mean. If I talk about plus size accessibility, do you know what I mean? Right? Once if we start talking about it, once you know it,
Hmm.
once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Okay? But that's a really big part of building the most accessible place imaginable is actually understanding how broad those needs are across the spectrum of disability. And then the other thing we like to encourage people to do, in addition, obviously, to working with people who are disabled, right, to build this thing, we like to encourage you to act as if you have a disability, to walk through the space on crutches, to try to wheel through the space yourself. And this goes again to kind of penetrating that it's got to feel personal. I mean, you really didn't know what it was like to be disabled till you got hurt, right? And so the people who are making everyday decisions, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland has this
Hmm.
group in wheelchairs come in once a year, and when they did their upgrade, they designed it to be as wheelchair accessible as possible. The group came in the first time and they found, lots of things that you wouldn't think of: height of the button in the elevator, right?
Hmm.
Wayfinding on the floor, and all different kinds of other things. They had them back the next year and they addressed all those things, and then the group found
Wow.
more things. Right? And so it's a process, but
Mm.
it's becoming more and more well documented. People understand it more and more. I think people are just
Hmm.
surprised to learn how many people have a disability and that you can't tell just by looking, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wouldn't know you were neurodivergent. You wouldn't know that about me. You wouldn't know that
Yeah.
after 30 minutes at the party, if I don't, I'm headed to the bathroom for a break. You wouldn't know that. And so I think opening your eyes and caring about, wanting to be as friendly to as many people as possible is the start. And, if you want
Okay.
to make me president, that would be
That
Let's go.
would be a good thing. I would love that. And then, so let's say you have, what is the least accessible place, yeah, on Earth or that you've ever heard of? Like,
uh,
what is a nightmare for accessibility?
okay, so how about the Superdome? How about the Superdome? You guys sports fans?
Oh
So
yeah.
Yeah.
you go to New Orleans, you go to watch a football game, the Sugar Bowl that was there this year. So I went because
Mhm.
my family's University of Washington fans. And I don't know when it was built, but it was a pretty long time ago. And so it's pretty accessible, like getting in, and it's pretty accessible, like rolling around in a circle once you're on the floor. But if you to get to
Mhm.
your seat, the steps, you ever walk up steps that were built a really long time ago and it's not like a
Yep.
6 inch step, it's like a foot. And you're thinking, how would anybody with a fat climb this thing, right? And then and then you see people going, you go get the drinks because it's so hard to get back up to your seat, right? That's a
Mhm.
good example. I mean, even for able-bodied people, they're struggling, they're holding on to the pole, trying to climb the 3 stories up to their seat. That's a problem, you know. Madison Square
Yeah, it sounds
Garden
like a
was
lot of
really
work.
inaccessible for a long time. They've done some good work
Mhm.
there. Um, I don't think I know the most inaccessible place, but I'm sure I'll find it. I'm sure I'll find
And then you call their boss.
it. That's right. That's right. I do love to make those phone calls because people are always expecting to hear the legal argument. You're not compliant, and I'm going to call the government on you, and I'm going to sue you. And they're usually so refreshed to hear someone say, "You want to know how to make more money?" Right?
Yep,
It's just a better way in.
it's
It's
true.
just a better way in.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's definitely true. You're giving them like new opportunities, and it's that's a different that's a much better approach than it's a positive approach as well. Like not only a different one, it's a positive approach to then to like threatening them by saying like, oh, we're gonna complain about you. You're not doing your job properly. Um, this is acknowledging that there's a problem, but also offering a solution instead of just like telling them, okay, this is the problem, fix it now, or you're in trouble, kind of
Right.
thing.
And we had, I'm living in Houston right now, and I had to find a new hairdresser. And so I'm having this conversation with her. She's in an old building. I don't know when it was built, but the parking lot's just terrible holes. It's on a hill. It's nuts. And I say to her, while she's doing my hair, what would you say to a wheelchair user who was needed to park here? And she told me
Hmm.
all the reasons why the building owner can't make the change because he has to bring everything up to code, that argument, right? And I'm like, no, no, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, what would you say to a wheelchair user who wanted to come and see you? Can you park in the back? Is there street parking? Where can they park and get in? It's not, I'm not
Mm.
asking you to fix your parking lot. Just tell me what I can tell them. So then I go in and I do the review and I said, great business owner. She
Mm.
says, park on Fifth. Call ahead if you need help getting in, right? It's just say something. You don't
Yeah.
have to you don't have to fix the whole thing. There are inexpensive things that you can do to be more accessible. You could go get a ramp at Home Depot for $120 and and stick it over your step if you know you've got somebody coming, right? And the disabled population will say that's not enough. It's not enough. You need to redo it. And I agree, but we have to operate in the world. We're talking about small business owners, even medium business owners, right? You're talking about permits, concrete, all kinds of stuff like that. You know what? Go get the ramp for now. Buy it. Stick it out there. Tell the
Hmm.
community you have it, and then you're halfway there.
Yeah,
Tell me
it's
about it.
it,
Yes, that's incredible.
it also teaches the community to be more considerate. So like
Hmm.
business owners are like being considerate of uh, like a part of the community that needs that consideration, that needs that empathy.
And then, you know what? When we get it, we're so loyal. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The places that I go to where I'm just a repeat, like, they see you and they start pouring your wine, when you walk in because you go there so often. Somebody makes a change for me. They add an accommodation for me. I'm like, I'm yours. I'm eating in this
Yep.
place every single time I can.
Woo. Love that.
Yeah.
No, totally. You want to reward them for, being good people. And, you know, I thought of the worst place for accessibility, and it's probably Spirit Airlines. I don't know if you've ever been on Spirit Airlines, but that is
I have
not
made it a
accessible
point.
to anyone. Anyone. No matter if you're able bodied or disabled bodied or whatever your body is, it's
Oh,
not going to
it's
fit on that, one of
it's
So
those
so
what's
bad.
Spirit
airplane
Airlines like?
seats, you know?
Please describe it, because here in the UK we don't have Spirit Airlines. What's Spirit Airlines like?
Yeah, it's like a bus with wings, and the bus is the smallest seats possible. It's bad. I mean, there's not a plus size person I know that is willing to fly Spirit Airlines. It's not possible. It's not possible. um, and so again, that's a whole population where people totally ignore those needs because they think, well, you know what? If you
Mm.
just lost weight, you could fit on Spirit Airlines. That's true. But I need to go somewhere tomorrow. So how about there's an airline on, and just taking that judgment out of it. I mean, come on. I shouldn't get to fly? What? But
Totally.
yeah, you're right. Spirit
Right.
Airlines is the new least accessible place in the world. I'd rather go to the Superdome.
So, do you include airlines on your app, or?
So what we do, yes and no. Because it's not a physical location, we review the airports, right? We let you
Okay.
know what's going
Yeah.
on at the airports, and then we try to publish as much information in our online magazine about, we'll write long articles about, the customer of size policy at Southwest versus United or Delta, and tips and where
Mm.
can you get a seatbelt extension and things like that. But we can't
Yeah. Yeah.
actually rate individual planes, which I would love to be able to do because this, for example, the seatbelts on the 737-900 are shorter than the 737-700. So when you're picking, you're going down and you're trying to pick your
Interesting.
flight, there's
Yeah.
a percentage of the population looking for what kind of plane it is because they know that Seat
Really?
Guru will have the exact seat dimensions of that particular model.
Wow. I never thought of that, because I mean, I don't have to look for that plane. So
Hmm.
now to have that information, this just makes me, more aware that, you know, if I'm a business owner or something like that, these are things I have to consider. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, there's these little details.
Totally.
They're so important.
Right.
Yes.
And we never see things from the eyes of someone with disabilities. That's another thing too. I feel like, the way we learn about the world and about diversity, and through art, through music, through films, through all those kinds of cultural things. Now, if you look at when was the last time you've had special, disability in a movie, you know, it's hard to find, versus there's 10,000 Avenger movies or Marvel superhero movies, but that's why I don't know if you saw the movie Coda when that came out, Child of Deaf Adults or something. Yes,
I did. Yeah.
that was incredible. That was mind blowing for me because you got to see the world from this person's perspective, and it's a whole story about something you've never even thought about or dreamed of, or the struggles this person go through, and and they're just a regular person. They're children of someone with deaf parents, but you wouldn't know what they're going through or what that life is like. Unless these stories
Yeah.
are told.
And there need to be more movies like that, and also the disabled community would tell you that they would like to be in those movies as well. One of their
Hmm.
least favorite things is when Hollywood makes a movie about disabled people and hires able-bodied actors and rents wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Oh my god.
they do.
Eddie
And,
Redmayne.
wheelchair users can tell the difference, right? They know the difference between what their care looks like personalized for them and the kind
Mhm.
that you get at the med supply center, but also, you're right in the sense that it's not integrated into our culture. We still very much think
Mhm.
other person to feel sorry for instead of just opening up to, well, what do I have to do to make sure everyone's comfortable here? And even just when you're going out with your friends, one of them is larger than you, one of them is neurodivergent. What it's it's becoming more aware as a team, really, and then
Hmm.
not always putting it on the disabled person to, oh, we're going to go to this concert and that's it. Now the disabled person has to figure out if they can go to that concert instead of, hey, let's find a music event that everyone can go to, right?
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
and so that's just more about keeping your eyes open and being thoughtful, and yeah, having your perspective broadened.
I'm not sure if you're familiar, Alicia, but I've seen a lot of stand up recently with people either in wheelchairs or with different a like syndromes and diseases and disabilities, and just going out to see stand up comedy and just to see that it's so booming right now with people with disabilities. I don't know why that is a big art form for them, but I've learned a lot about their lives through their jokes and their stories, and sometimes they make jokes and I feel uncomfortable a bit, but it's
Yeah.
interesting that they they embrace it, they embrace their their abilities and disabilities,
Yeah,
and make it
because it's
make
their
it
life.
and joke about it and laugh about it, and it's not taboo anymore when they do that. That's one of the cool
Right.
things about it.
Do you remember the comedian? Uh, he goes by Fluffy. You know who I mean? The
Oh, Gabriel
Yeah. Yeah.
Iglesias, yeah,
Of
Yeah,
course.
totally,
thank
yep,
you,
yep, yep.
Iglesias. So he is like the crown prince at doing that, right? And he's actually lost a lot of weight, but he used to get. I
Mhm.
mean, his whole routine was about, especially in the beginning, was about making enough jokes about his body that you weren't thinking them and not saying them, right, and judging him. Like,
Yeah.
you'll find people with disabilities or plus size people, will very often they'll lead with it, man. They want it out of the
Mhm.
room. They're going to make self-deprecating jokes. They're going to tell you a funny story that works in, and it's an excellent way to teach people, to your point, because it's non-confrontational. It's you cracking on yourself, right?
Mm.
And should you have to? No, but it's really effective. It's really effective. And by
It's
the
true
time
that.
you leave the Gabriel Iglesias show, you're not thinking about him being fat anymore. You're thinking about how hilarious he was. And
Yeah.
that's what's wanted. That's so
Yep.
much why you lead with that in the beginning.
I get this feeling that fat people in general are just funnier than skinny people. I don't know if this is an actual, like, there should be a study on this. Like,
Ah,
they're just
Saeed.
I feel like they're just better at comedy. This
What makes you think that? Where did you get that from?
I don't know, just a feeling, just a feeling. I don't know. I'm probably just like, thinking wrong, but like all of the people that I've met for in Lebanon, for example, it's like the fat ones used to are always funnier. And I'm not trying to be offensive in any way, but it's just like they're just, if anything, this is a compliment. They have a better sense of humor. Which,
Interesting.
what I'm saying is basically skinny people are boring. Yeah.
That's a good take. I'll take it. Oh my god. Everyone's beautiful the way they are. Let me do some PR. Everyone, no matter how big or small you are, you're beautiful the way you are. You can be funny no matter what size you are, and abilities or disabilities. Okay, I cleared
Well,
that,
I'm
Saeed.
just thinking about Tig Notaro.
PR nightmare. Taking a
Tig
taro,
Notaro,
yes, totally, yes.
she's real hilarious,
Yep,
real.
yep, yep, yep.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
she vaulted into stardom, right, with
Mm-hmm.
cancer diagnosis when she went in and did that amazing stand-up routine to just like get it all out about being diagnosed with cancer. And her career has never been the same since. that is a hilarious lady, right? And even just
Yeah.
watching that
Hmm.
stand up, you learn so much more about what the people in your life with cancer are going through, right? At the same time that you're cracking up. So it's this beautiful way to learn, because it's not coming from a place of, you should think better about people like that and you should be nicer. And, it's actually coming from a place where they're cracking you up, even with their tragedy, they're cracking you up.
Totally.
Mm,
It bonds us.
interesting.
I hope that
Yes, sir.
clears things out a bit. Okay. I want to ask you about
Okay.
technology, phones, iPhones, accessibility, my Apple Watch. What is this? Is it good for access? Like, how can technology make life for disabled people? And I hate the word disabled people. Maybe you can help me find a different word for it, because I don't. I hate the idea that this person is able and this person is disabled. No, I think we are
I
differently
like,
abled. We all have
I,
different
I like
abilities,
people
but
with
I don't know.
access needs. I like people with access needs.
People with access needs. That's a lot of
Hmm.
words, but we'll work on it
It's
more, I
true.
guess, to find something a
It's
bit
true.
stronger.
The industry acronym is PWD, people with disability,
PWD.
right?
Okay.
Rather
So
than disabled.
PWDs.
So
Gotcha.
tech
So
is
people
tech is
PWDs. Tell me about it.
tech is
Mm-hmm.
transformative. I mean, come on, think about all the ways it's changed your life. There's this incredible app called Be My Eyes, right? Where the phone is actually
Mm-hmm.
reading for you and speaking it out loud. They're using it in Lego uses it as their
Wow.
tech support now, right? Because it's so fabulous. There are so many incredible apps, like Friendly Like Me for one, and others that are
Mm-hmm.
really targeted at people with disabilities. There is an app. I can't remember the name of it. I need to apologize to the developers, but it you can it'll measure decibels in a restaurant or anywhere that you are. And that's very helpful if
Wow.
you're like, my father wears a hearing aid, and if there's a lot of ambient noise, he's not going to hear me all night. So if when we're doing reviews, we activate that part of it and we go, okay, let's find out what is the sound level in here, right? I mean, that's not stuff we could have done before. The real
Yeah.
trick is will be getting all of these technologies integrated. That's when we'll know. Because right now we're all trying to achieve, um, we all want to help and we're all trying to achieve, and some apps do better than others. A lot of apps are very focused on a one particular disability, like wheelchair access. There's probably 12, 14 apps like Wheel the World and other ones that are very focused on that, and that's very important too. But what we're trying to do with Friendly is we're trying to say, yeah, but people are more than just one thing, and we
Mm-hmm.
travel in groups, we travel in pairs, we go places together. So we need to be looking at disability across the spectrum. And when
Yeah.
we get big enough, then we can start adding things in like veterans and seniors and pet friendly, and we can look beyond what we're doing now. But our main focus is to just try to gain adoption in the disability community and to start thinking about places from the point of view of how accessible are they for everyone going with you.
Mm, that's
I
very
totally
interesting.
agree
Yeah.
with what you just said, that we need to bring it all together, because right now things are a bit fragmented. And you know I love Friendly Like Me, and I was looking through it and it's so cool. But I also, like you said, I wish there was more for different kinds of disabilities there too. More neurodivergence, on there too, more different kinds of disabilities, and or PWDs. um
Yeah.
just more different things, and because if you're able to do that, you can really have an app that anyone in the world can go to. Like, okay, we're hanging out with a group of people, we want to go to this bar, right, to a party, but one of our friends, is you know has autism or something like that. So what would be a good place for them, where it's
Right.
more neuro friendly?
Well, and you've
And
just
so
touched upon my
that's what we
entire
need.
dream. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is to be the biggest provider of accessibility information in the world, right? That's that's what we're working toward. And
Hmm.
it's interesting because we're adding a neurodivergent community next.
Nice,
We
nice.
have wheelchair, we have plus size, hard of hearing, and blind low vision, and we're
Hmm.
adding neurodivergent next. And this is a really interesting one because the features are so much more dependent upon the business owner. Like, for example, I've talked to a
Hmm.
couple of business owners who have said, yeah, you know what? I could reserve my restaurant from 4 to 5. And parents with, I mean, come on, taking a neurodivergent kid out, right? I mean, parents will just say, oh
Yes.
my God, we just stay home, right? There's no way. It's so embarrassing, right? And I've talked to a few restaurant owners who have said, yes, I could totally set aside 1 hour a week or whatever that's like, bring your kids, bring them all, and I'll be equipped for it at that time. So there's lots of other things that we can do besides just writing reviews, right? Besides just saying this doesn't work.
Hmm. I mean, that's just an interesting idea as well. It's just like give out the whole space for neurodivergent people. I've never heard of this idea before. It's like it's pretty unique. Um, and
I
also
was
a comment I wanted to make. Sorry for interrupting, but there was just a comment I wanted to make earlier. PWD really sounds like some sort of tax form paper that you have to fill out by the end of the year.
Prisoners of
I
war.
don't.
Hey, I
I
said
just wanted to say
tax
POW.
that.
was mean. You said it was too many words.
I know, I know, I know. Can't
But
have
sorry,
everything.
I didn't want to interrupt your yeah. I didn't want to
No,
interrupt your
that's
thought. Where was it going to?
I don't remember. But that's okay because that was way funnier than what I was going to say.
Oh, I wanted to comment on what you were talking about. That yes, that just because you have a child with a disability or that's on the spectrum doesn't mean that they don't can't go outside and live life just like any other kid. And we're seeing
Yeah.
that um, it's increasing. It's just the world we're living in, that there are more kids out there with neurodivergence, and we have to build the infrastructure and the accommodations to integrate them into our society. Because if we don't do that, they're not, if they don't learn to fit in now, they're not going to learn to fit in later, and then we're just going to have all these people that are displaced, and you know when they can be a crucial part of our society and teach us things and create things and you know be part of us, instead of other than us. um, that's why
The
I love
other
the work you do.
the other part is where it all comes off the rails because we're not other.
Hmm.
It's two people on this call are neurodivergent right now, and I don't even know
Hmm.
all the things going on with you, Ali. I'm
Look
just
at how
saying.
he's dressed. I don't know what he's. Look at what he's wearing. He looks like he's gonna go film Cobra Kai right now. I was like,
Are you going bass fishing when you get off this call?
he's gonna go fight Mr.
Love it.
Miyagi's next mentee or something like that. The villain of a
Oh my
karate movie.
god.
That's what you.
So funny.
Ah,
But yeah, like
that's
if you
good.
Uh,
think about it from that point of view as a business owner, like what could you do? How could you market autistic kid night? Imagine how much fun that would actually be, right? I've
mm,
Hmm.
talked to doctors. You wouldn't believe how inaccessible like doctors' offices are for people with disabilities. Like a regular doctor's office,
Hmm.
that was shocking to me. What? Well, they don't have an attendant care worker who knows how to lift a disabled person, so they try to do
Hmm.
exams while they're in their chairs. They don't have a Hoyer lift to move someone onto the table. The table doesn't go up and down for an easy chair transfer. So you know what happens? What happens? Disabled people don't go to the doctor,
Oof.
right?
mm,
For
yeah.
preventative care, right? Because it's hard. So I've talked to doctors, I've talked to dentists again with that question, what would you say to someone coming, you know, um, beat back the yes, I'm compliant, and then down to yes, what would you say? And almost every single person I've talked to has been willing to say, you know what? I could see disabled people on Tuesdays. And here's what I would do. I would get an attendant care worker. We'll get ourselves a Hoyer lift because you can rent those, right? You know, one
Mm.
Tuesday a month, open for everyone who struggles to gain access. More people would go to the doctor. They sure would. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
only access to fun that we're talking about. We're talking about quality of life and access to healthcare. You
Yeah.
wouldn't think that a healthcare facility would not be accessible, but it's true, for real. The smaller they are, the worse it is.
Totally. What would you do if you can't fit in an MRI machine? Then what?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So I have a story about that.
Oh,
I
interesting.
actually,
Wow.
Okay, cool.
yeah, it's actually kind of the origin story for Friendly Like Me.
Oh, wow.
I, yeah, I can't believe you stumbled on it. It's funny, but I used to be heavier than I am now, and had a blood clot that went into my lung, and so
Oh,
I had a pulmonary embolism. And I met the doctor when we figured this out, and I lived in D.C. at the time, and George Washington Hospital is right across the way. And she's like, "You need a CT scan." I'm like, In the past for me, when I have needed a scan, an MRI or whatever, I'm doing like tons of legwork. I'm like in full recon mode trying to find a wide bore MRI. The typical
Hmm.
MRI is about 60 centimeters, and they make them at 80. Okay. So not just for someone who's plus size, but for someone who's claustrophobic, lots of
Hmm.
reasons. Disabled, lots of reasons you would
Hmm.
need this. Trade secret. Okay, so anyway, back to my story. I'm standing there in the ER room. They don't know if they have a wide bore MRI. Nobody working there knows. They have this strategy that they use where they put you on a sheet and like turn you into a taco to try to make you smaller so that you can fit in. And this whole
yeah.
conversation is going on in the lobby. I'm sitting there, not breathing, active medical situation, okay? And there's this little, I'm breathing, but laboring to breathe. And there's this crew of people like looking at me and evaluating my body. And, you know, I spent 25 years in technology, okay, leading technology teams. And I have been trying to find information about wide bore MRIs my whole adult life. And here I am now in a situation where no one knows. No one knows. And that was it for me. I was like, look, I have the ability to solve this problem. I have the knowledge, I have the will. It's like I'm going to do it. I was so naive. I'm like, "Oh, no one's going to have to suffer through this again, right?" So then I get into it and I'm thinking I'm just going to keep calling places until I find them all. Turns out this is a trade secret. So I called up Siemens and I'm like, "Tell me where all your wide bore MRIs." They're like, "No, ma'am." Called up Hitachi, called all the people, okay? And it's, for some reason, it's a competitive trade secret. So we started building it from the bottom up. We started crowdsourcing it, locations of all wide bore MRIs. And about 6 months ago, I actually found a marketing company who makes money by telling Siemens where Hitachi's MRIs are. And I bought it. I
Hmm.
bought the information and loaded it into the app. So now I've got about 75% of the country in terms of you can go in
Wow.
and just type wide bore MRI and
Wow.
they're gonna pop right up. And this is something maybe that I'm the most proud of that we've done because there's real value. I want the ambulance driver to know if they're taking you to the right place. I want my doctor to be able to know. I want to know, you
Totally.
know.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
so
Yep.
we have been
You want to
actively
have that
working.
comfort. Totally. Yeah, that's a huge success because other than that, what did people used to do in the past? I don't know, like go to
Call.
a zoo. I don't know. Is that insensitive
That
or
has
something? But
happened.
like,
Actually, that's a
yes.
terrible story, but that does happen. Um, there there is equipment that's made for you know large animals, and
Hmm.
there's definitely been a time in our history when we didn't have wide bore MRIs, and we sent large people to the zoo. That is real.
Wow.
That has legitimately happened.
No
You know,
way.
and when you think about our population, their global population, the rates of obesity,
Mm-hmm.
growing, right? Come on. Like, and so the manufacturers are catching up now. Um, and it takes time to penetrate, but all the big medical systems have them now. But you literally used to have to call, and then the next thing is there a gown there that fits you when you're going for the MRI, right? Is do the chairs in the waiting room accommodate you, right? All those things. And so that's what Friendly is for. Find them, review them, tell other people, pay it forward for the person coming behind you so they don't have to Google, right? Or become excellent at recon while they're in the middle of a health crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so, I'm sorry, but I just got like a very naughty thought of like when going to the zoo to get an MRI, if you're sitting down, like who's who's the other patient that you're sitting next to? Is it? It's like
Oh my
I
god.
won't go anywhere.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That's not.
Who's the other patient? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
trying to
Like
say the
who's
animals
sitting
are
next to you in
sitting
the
down
same?
next to each other.
Well,
Oh my god, Saeed.
the hippos are
Well,
looking
we're
at the
lucky
elephant
that
going, this chair is too small.
I gotta stop sharing my
um,
thoughts. Sorry.
no, your thoughts are good. It's good. It's good. But we're accepting of everyone, no matter what size, no matter who you are, what background you have. Just have to do the
Thank you,
crisis
guys. Thank
management.
you.
I, I love your app. I really hope you're able to take it to your fullest dreams,
Me
expand it
too.
around the world,
Yeah.
have it where everyone who has a disability is able to know where they can
Mm,
get a bite in any city in the world. You know?
That's right.
Why
That's
can't we
our
have that?
goal. That's our goal. So tell your friends, okay? Tell your friends about us. Review
definitely.
places, you know? When you're out having a beer, just whip it out and review a place. It's easy to do and it helps a lot of people.
I can't wait for the day that you're
Saeed?
discussing your app with like world leaders and like presidents and stuff, like for them to
Oh,
change, to
would
apply
be
that to governments.
that
Because
would be
like there's a lot
amazing.
of countries who aren't even considering accessible needs or not very good
No,
at it. So,
no, no. It's hard to be considering accessibility when when bombs are raining down from the sky or whatever else is going
Totally.
on.
yeah,
But no, me too.
Yeah,
You
totally.
really have voiced a number of my dreams, and I would love to be at the table for those conversations about how to begin from nowhere with this.
yeah. Well, thank you, Alicia, for being on
Saeed,
this
what did you
podcast.
learn
Thank you so
today?
much for your time. There's a lot of things that I learned. I learned that first of all, you guys are very considerate of my way of thinking. um, and another thing is, yeah, there's a lot of ideas out there that can benefit businesses and people, PWDs. Um, the term still like I'm still trying to get it into my head. Yeah, there's so many ideas out there that can definitely help both sides. PWDs should be taken care of, and like business should be more considerate of for them because like they are a large part of the population, and it's definitely an opportunity for them to like grow their own, grow businesses, communities, and help more people. Like this is, it's not a, there's no loss in it. It's a win-win. Um, Thank you so much, Alicia, for being on the podcast. Can you tell people where they can find you if they want to
Yeah.
connect with you and like assist your dream?
So friendlylikeme.com is the website. From there, you can hit our web platform. It'll direct you right to it, or you can download the app from the Apple or Android stores.
Mm-hmm.
Get it on your phone and review places. It's the best thing that you can do. And the second best thing you can do is talk a business owner into claiming their restaurant, claiming their space, right? Because that's how we're going to grow. We can't provide enough value until we hit a certain critical mass. Like if you went to Yelp and you looked up your corner pizza place and it wasn't there, you know what I mean? It's not valuable until everything's there, right? And so that's
Hmm.
kind of the
Yeah.
stage that we're at. So we just need help getting the word out, and yeah, I mean, that's what we need: more people using it. So
Come on, guys.
thank you for
Use
very much for having me.
anytime, anytime. Uh, Guys, don't forget, subscribe, follow us, and
Subscribe.
then you can
Hmm.
you can learn from more people like Elysia. Thank you, guys. You know how we end this. We salute to cover the camera, Elysia. If you want, you can join us. And
Okay.
peace.
Peace.
Out. Done.